Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Simon Whistler Show with
Sam Myers.
Sam. You are looking cold today.
I'm wrapped up in a coat. It's freezing. We're down in a basement in the middle of February with no heating. I don't know how you're not freezing to death in your casual attire that you're wearing right now.
Wool jacket, wool jumper.
You're basically a sheep.
Yeah. Also, I'm used to it. It's been out since Thursday. It's Monday.
No wonder you're drinking cold medicine.
Oh well, I do have a cold as well, unfortunately. But I don't. That's just a legend, right? You don't get viruses in the cold. You know why people get more sick in winter? It's not because of the cold. It's because they're inside in the warm.
No.
Yes, viruses do better in warm environments. That's well known. They survive better, and we're in much closer quarters. So we're all inside, huddled up together in the warmth, in a better place for viruses. That's why we get more sick, not because we're out in the cold. And no matter how many times I tell this to people, they're like, oh, put on a coat, wrap up warm outside, you'll get sick. And it's like, no, I won't. It's a goddamn lie.
Although I do think people do get cold. When you get like cold to your bones, like wet cold.
You won't get a cold. Your immune system might be slightly compromised,
it might drop down, so when you come into the warm,
when you come inside. But it's a small factor.
Yeah,
that's a small factor.
That is true. Like if you go for a run or you play sport or something in the cold, generally you are healthy. Like you feel better, than people are just sat in watching movies all day.
Yeah, just the straight biology of it. You're less likely to get a virus. Where am I going to get sick?
In a crowded room.
In a tram, a warm, hot tram.
Oh, people breathing down your neck.
Tons of other people. Dude, I was on a tram the other day. Then there was like a coughing epidemic. Oh. Like I'm sitting in there and like one person starts coughing and then another person starts coughing. And then it's like, I feel like everyone suddenly realizes they need to clear their throats. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was at a stop. So I just get off. And it's like, I'll just wait for the next one.
It's like you're in like the doomed Japanese boat that's been sank, the coronavirus boat. Have you heard about this?
They sank a boat?
No, they didn't sink one.
They were just like, what?
They didn't sink a boat with 800 people.
I thought you just said they sank it. Just say, it's too late for them. Let's just nuke it.
I think doomed was maybe the wrong word, but no, the quarantined boat. They've got a boat that's been quarantined with like loads and loads of people on it, 800 people or something on it.
What do you make of this coronavirus?
So
I was worried that I had the coronavirus because I'm a bit of a hypochondriac.
I mean, is that your thing?
No, but I don't know. I do feel like this would be the thing.
Was it you telling me the story of you went to the doctor and you're like, I've got a lump, and they said it's your rib? Was that you telling me?
That's good though.
There was someone I know was telling me a story. I can't think who it was, but they were telling me a story that or it was either them or their uncle or someone went to the doctor and was like, I think I'm going to die. I've got this lump, and they were like, that's your rib. And then and then there was another guy who went to the doctor with terrible muscle pain. This was my boss was telling me his uncle went with terrible muscle pain to the doctor, and he went and had all these tests, and they were like, okay, we'll get back to you with the results. Only then had he realized that after 10 years he went to the gym for the first time and did intense exercise, and it was just pain from the gym.
I told you about my friend who got whiplash.
No.
And he was like, he went to the doctor and he was like, the doctor diagnosed it with whiplash because you can diagnose it apparently without the situational thing, how you got it. So he's like, yeah, you got whiplash. Have you been in a minor bump or something in the car or anything like that? Had anything? And the guy's like, no, I don't even drive. I don't really drive anywhere at all. And it takes ages. And then the doctor and him, they eventually get around to realizing that he got whiplash while he was falling asleep on a plane. Because when you fall asleep, your head will go down and then you wake up and you slam, you have that falling wall.
Yeah.
And they reckon that's how he got whiplash.
I think I might have mentioned about. I took a Qatar Airways flight, and they had these little wings that you could put up that.
You can follow,
and you just lean on them.
The trick, right? Though,
what's that?
Sit on your hands.
What?
If you sit on your hands, it does something weird to your body to make it like.
I'm going to test it. Hang on. Sorry, I've got a very squeaky chair. Test it,
but you will notice if you just sit on your hands on a plane and you put your head back, your head does not loll off to the side.
Oh my God.
You can force it to loll off when you're conscious, but it just doesn't really do it.
You have just changed my whole world.
Yeah. Someone told me this, or I read this online, and I was like, well, I'm going to try it next time I'm on a flight. So now I'm always just constantly sitting on my hands on planes, just falling asleep. It's great.
Well, you're using the entertainment system with your nose.
Come on.
Come on, down.
Speaking of using your nose, it's winter, so I wear gloves and touch screens, right? I can't be the only person who controls it, because now there's Face ID and stuff, so you want to check your messages or whatever. So you swipe up, on the iPhone. What you use an iPhone?
Yeah.
To like do the Face ID, you swipe up from the bottom, yeah?
Yeah.
And, or, if it said like, rejected, which often happens, so you swipe up from the bottom. I'm doing this motion because I use my nose.
No, to swipe.
Yeah. And then it's like you're inside, and it's like, you just tap on the podcast app with your nose and you tap play, and I'm like,
yeah, I'm a big foot user.
Good.
I use toes for things. So
hang on, because your hands are covered in gloves.
No.
Where are you out and about?
Just like say for instance, I'm say for instance I'm lounging on a sofa or something, and there's something.
I always just say sitting, but I'm glad to know you lounge.
No, but this is important. If I was sitting, I would lean forward and pick something up. However, say I'm
you don't
lounging
sit like a peasant.
I'm lounging like on a chaise longue, and there's something on the table that I need, then I will just use my feet to hook said thing and bring it to myself.
Legit.
Like
I'll do that.
Like proper like monkey hands.
Why not?
Exactly. I feel they're just an extra pair of hands that we don't use.
I'm pretty good at this. The problem is, do you have control over your baby toes?
Limited.
Yeah, I've broken both of my various. I actually broke them 3 weeks apart, which was a massive hassle.
Oh, jeez. No balance. You just fall over.
It was absolutely dreadful. I cracked one I was running on a beach, and there was like a block of concrete. It was like,
that's horrible. Actually,
But it was like, it was my own fault. I'm so dumb. It was just I was running along, and then there's like a beam sticking up, and then it had like a concrete base sunk in the sand, and I didn't quite realize how wide that would be, and it just sticks out of the sand, crunch my toe on there. And then like I'm getting up to pee in the night. This one's a lot less interesting. I'm just getting up to pee in the night like a few weeks later, and I just crunched my other one on the bedpost. Never done it before, never done it since, and within 3 weeks I had these 2 broken toes. It was awesome.
So stubbing a toe is one of the weirdest, funniest things in the world, because like there's no moment that is more stressful in your life. You're like, this is the most painful thing I've ever done.
Everything to
this
me.
Is the worst. And then 5 minutes later, it's fine.
Yeah. And since
apart
then,
from yours,
and since then, my toes don't. The little baby ones, they're kind of like too far down the foot. They're really thick in the bone. They don't really work anymore. But it's fine.
Very stabilizing, though.
Well, yeah, it's a feature. I want to talk about, speaking of phones, I guess. Good tangent. First topic for today. Do we need to turn our phones off on flights?
Absolutely not. Just annoys the pilots. But you tell us
more.
Well,
yeah. I feel like pilot annoyance. I was more like, does it do anything at all? Because I was like, pilot annoyance would be fairly high on my list of, I don't want to annoy the pilot. I want them to be focused on flying and shit.
Yeah. I don't actually know why. I did once speak to a pilot about this, and he told me the answer, but it was a long time ago. So...
Well, good news. I'm not a pilot, but I will tell you the answer.
Tell me the answer.
I actually flew on... you can fly direct from Prague to Beijing, which is pretty cool.
That's long.
It wasn't too bad.
That's a long flight.
It's like 9 hours, 10 hours. Maybe it was long. It's probably 11 hours.
I don't know. I did London. I did London to Beijing, actually. So
it's going to be a couple of hours longer.
12 hours maybe, or 13 hours. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, and I flew because there's loads of Chinese tourists in Prague, of course, and it's this Chinese airline called Hainan. Maybe I flew on it, and I don't even know. And they're like, dude, turn your phone off at takeoff, and turn it back on when you land. And I'm like. And not just airplane mode.
Yeah.
Off. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Watch your crappy movies on the in-flight entertainment? I've downloaded like 6 seasons of Breaking Bad onto Netflix to watch. It's 13 hours or whatever. And so I was like, this is just bullshit. So I just take out my phone. I'm watching Netflix on my phone, and the flight attendant lady comes by and she's like, please turn off your phone, sir. And I'm like, yeah, I'll turn off my phone. So she goes away, and I turn it back on again because I'm like, it's just some stupid policy. And then she comes back. And she tells me like 3 times, and I'm like, okay. And then I just get the blanket, put it over my head, and I'm just like watching it.
I'm asleep.
The blanket. But apparently,
while sitting on your hands,
they take it really seriously. And I've got this quote here. In 2014, the European Aviation Safety Agency announced that electronic devices were not safety risks, so we know that. But the agencies of other countries, such as the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA of the United States, and the Civil Aviation Administration of China, they've kept the limits in place. In China, electronic devices must be kept off for the duration of the flight. So it wasn't just a Hainan Airlines policy, or however you say it, or the users face the possibility of a short stay in jail.
You could could have gone to prison.
Or several $1,000s in fines.
You could have gone to prison in China.
I mean, I'd definitely pay the fine rather than go to Chinese goddamn prison. I mean, the next thing I know, I'd be like, yeah, we've decided to donate your kidney to a party member. I'm like, oh, God.
So what does it do?
Okay, so basically the problem is like there can be some interference. So yeah, it's obviously looking for cell towers even when you're in the air, because it's like, oh God, where are my cell towers?
Frequent listeners of this show will know the sound. This is a
yeah. Wow. God damn it. I didn't turn my phone off for like 3 episodes in a row. Now we have a checklist like NASA that we go through every time.
Do you know, somehow, even with the checklist, I now just walked over with my phone.
I saw your phone going off. It's because I didn't ask you. I've got to print you a checklist.
Although I think actually what happened was I was on the Wi-Fi in airplane mode, so it was a WhatsApp.
That's fine. You can have that.
I can have a WhatsApp,
It won't fuss if you've just got the Wi-Fi on.
Thank God for that. There you go.
So that's good. And I'm going to laminate these, I think. I'm going to get a laminator.
Should we put them up?
Because I ruined like 4 of them because I've got them at home as well. I've got my home checklists.
Oh, okay.
I've got really into checklists.
You like checklists?
Yeah. And I had a massive cup of this same flu medicine, and I spilled it all over my desk.
No.
Ruined my checklists all over my laptop, which by some miracle survived, because that's how I killed my last one.
What? Cough mixture?
No, just a cup of coffee spilt all over it.
That's devastating.
Dude, I got to tell you, this cup, not the... It was a stupid cup.
Okay.
It was an idiotic cup.
Okay, yeah.
It was a terrible cup.
It was a bad cup.
Yeah. I mean, in 100 years, people are going to listen back to this and be like, oh my God, Simon, I can't believe you were so against cups. They have rights. And this cup was just... It was from IKEA, so you'd think they'd have it together. But it was just really narrow at the base and big on top.
Oh, terrible.
And so I just knocked it over, and then it ruins my laptop, which was expensive.
There's 2 things I hate in a mug or a cup. I know this is terrible, pod, but one is a narrow bottom and a large top, and like a large top, so it falls over. So it's not balanced at all.
I love how you're like, I'm going to tell Simon's story again and describe it as terrible.
No. The other, which I received, which I got given, was a perfectly round, like circular sort of concave top, because that way when you drink it, it'll all sort of spill out the sides.
Who designs this?
Yeah, I don't know. Idiots. That's who they are.
The thing is, there's not going to be any problems because airplanes, they're really well shielded because interference.
It's everywhere.
Can you imagine if a mobile phone crashed a plane? Have you ever heard of this?
What, no.
With the interference? Of course not. It's like petrol stations, gas stations for our American friends. When you go in, it's like, turn off your mobile phones. Or don't be on mobile phones. Because I think there was once a petrol station blew up while someone was on the phone in the petrol station. They were like, well, that's not good.
They said it's like static, didn't they? Or something like that. What's the...
I think it was like a spot. There could have been... This probably isn't what happens, but theoretically what could have happened is there were gas fumes in the air and there was a spark within the mobile phone, and this ignited the fumes. But it's not what happens.
Turn off your mobile phone when you're...
Don't.
When you're what do you call it? Putting gas in the tank.
Don't. Just use it and be really subtle about it so you don't get in trouble. Yeah, like me on the plane.
Wear headphones.
Using it under the blanket.
Just get under a blanket.
Yeah, just get under it. You're filling up your car under a blanket.
Under a blanket.
I said important business call. Sell. Yeah, so basically you're absolutely right, Sam. You spoiled it at the beginning.
Sorry.
It's just all about pilot annoyance. It just annoys the pilots.
Is it just beep beep beeps, or could they hear into your conversation? Could they listen into your conversation, or
pretty certain they can't hear you. Also, you're on a plane. How are you going to have a conversation?
Well, by going under a blanket and cooling.
Where you're not going to get any reception. I mean, you will right at the beginning.
True. But like, for instance...
Also, if you're having a phone call on a plane, people are going to look at you funny.
However, you say that. However, when planes are going down, they often say, call your loved ones. Like, they say, like, call your loved ones, send them a message, things like that. Like, not like if they know something is wrong. There was that one, wasn't there, like 3 years ago or something, where they said, we know we're going to crash. Like, send messages to your family and friends.
No.
Yeah. I cannot think at all what it was. It was the name of the flight.
But anyway, you can get reception, but only quite close to the ground. Because I don't know, I never bothered turning my phone onto airplane mode. Because then also...
Sounds like you have terrible plane etiquette. You sit on your hands. You've got your...
Dude, no. Sitting on your hands is... The worst plane etiquette is when you fall asleep on someone else.
Or do you know the worst plane etiquette? The worst...
Taking your shoes off.
Not just shoes off.
Socks
shoes
off.
Socks off, and then feet up.
If you've got your feet up, something is wrong with you. Taking your socks off, taking your shoes off is like...
It's like punishable, but it's okay. It's on the edge.
Yeah, look, if the plane's providing socks, you can take your socks off. You know, in the vanity kits.
Yeah.
If they're not, let's just keep our shoes on.
Shoes on.
Let's just not ruin it for everyone.
No one. Yeah. Smelly places, planes.
Yeah, but the air's always fresh.
I don't know.
Did we talk about this before?
I don't know if I think actually the opposite. Wasn't it the case that
if you think the opposite, you're wrong.
No, but isn't it the case that the air was fresher when you could smoke because they had to filter the air?
No, they filter it anyway. They don't filter it. They just push new air in.
Use fresh air, yeah.
Because even though you're at altitude and there's not much oxygen in the air, they just scoop a load of air in and then they compress it to the right atmosphere and they bring it in. The air on a plane is replaced every like 3 minutes or something.
Really? Okay, wow.
It's fresher than the air in this office.
Do you know how long you can survive consciously?
20 seconds.
What was my question?
How long?
If cabin pressure drops.
What else is your question going to be?
I think they say 7 seconds. I think it is. A friend of mine's a pilot for we won't name the Irish airline, but
Aer Lingus.
No, the other one.
Ryanair. Michael O'Leary. I only know this because I was watching that. I mentioned it last episode. 7-4 Crew, the guy who does this YouTube channel as a pilot, and I think he was saying he was doing the review of the Tom Hanks movie Castaway.
Okay.
And
great movie.
The plane... Great movie. The plane crashes and he's saying like the pilot puts the mask on Tom Hanks first before putting him on himself.
Massive
and
mistake.
He says... Yeah. He says you always put your own mask on first because you've only got like 20 seconds of useful consciousness. Yeah,
a bit of unconsciousness is not going to kill someone. Let them pass out and then help them.
Then put their mask on afterwards, exactly, and they'll come back around.
That's why they always say don't do your kids first, do yourself first.
Exactly.
You can help your kids, they can't help you really.
Right. I guess that's fine. Let's wrap this up. You can use your...
unless you're going to China.
My parents came to visit, and they were saying, then when the plane was descending, they were saying, like, we're doing an instrument landing because it was incredibly foggy. So it asked you to actually, please put your phones on airplane mode.
Oh, really?
And I don't know why. I didn't look it up. I just remember that story right now.
Maybe it's just absolute focus, like absolute
no
interruption, no distraction in case there's any beep beep beep.
Got to be scary though. Can you actually turn your phones off? We need to concentrate on landing the plane because we
can't see.
We're not super great at it, and we need to focus.
Was I discussing it with you that they did a whole load of someone I think in America they did a whole load of autopilot tests landing an airplane, and they landed it on the same spot so many times that they began to indent the ground.
Yeah, I looked it up. I couldn't find anything backing it up. It sounded like a myth to me. So I looked it up and I couldn't find anything.
I love a myth, but okay, all right. I will try and find something because I'm pretty sure that happened.
We will see.
To follow up.
Let's move on to another subject because we've fannied around on this one for long enough. Highway through a skyscraper. This is I mostly chose this one because it'll be a good thumbnail. Open up that link, the Gate Tower building.
All right.
So zoom in on that image on the right.
That's quite cool.
Just bring that up nice and big. Yeah.
Who came up with that?
Well, it's kind of a complicated story.
Structurally sound though. That's good. I like that.
Well, I'll talk about the structure first then. The highway doesn't touch the building. Mm-hmm. It's just a hole in the building is perfectly through, and then the highway is supported on either side by beams, and it runs through the entire building without even touching the sides.
Incredible. Where is that? Looks Japan?
Yeah,
it looks like
straight
Japan.
Up.
There you go.
Which, Gate Tower building doesn't give a lot away, but that is in Japan. So it's essentially an off-ramp of a highway. For people who are listening to this podcast, it is exactly what we're saying. There is a high-rise building, and through a hole in the high-rise building there is a large road.
It's not like there's like a smashed hole, like they've built like a gap, like sometimes you have ornamental sort of empty space. It's one of those.
It'd be very Idiocracy if it was just a smashed hole. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Oh my, this is a good strong recommendation. Luke Perry plays a man who is sent forward in time like 1,000 years or something, and he is an average man of completely average intelligence, but in the future everyone's become incredibly stupid. So he's the smartest man in the world.
Wow.
And they're doing things like, we need a new highway, so we smashed a hole in a skyscraper. And it's like, and they famously, all the crops are dying in the world because they feed them like their version of Gatorade, which is called, I don't even remember, because it's what plants crave. And they just don't understand that they should be feeding the plants water. Idiocracy is a solid movie recommendation.
Okay.
But that's they wouldn't do it like this. Anyway, so it runs through the 5th to 7th floors of the building. So how it came about was the area... Bring it up. I like looking at this thing.
You like the picture?
Yeah, it's a really cool picture. The area was getting redeveloped. And they'd got kind of permission... Well... So I got really confused because I was reading articles about this and reading this Wikipedia page, and it seems like, okay, so a highway was planned, but then the owner didn't want them to build on his land, and they kept pushing and shoving, and they eventually came to some sort of a solution where the building of the highway paid for the land, but then it also seems like the guy still owns it or something. And every article I read, and where you read articles and you're like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. So you're like, okay, maybe this is just badly worded. And you read a different article about it and it says exactly the same thing. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so someone was really lazy at some point and they all just copied each other and they all don't understand it. And here we are.
Yes.
Repeating
Doing
the cycle.
Same.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm not going to really look into the Japanese property records of all of this stuff for a bit of entertainment.
Could it be possibly, all right, just making theories here, could it be air rights? Because... that, I believe, is how Donald Trump made all his money, wasn't it? No. Air rights. So basically... I
understand the concept. So it's like rights above how much above your property you get.
Exactly. Well, not just above your own property. It can be above a whole area. But in this particular situation, it might be... that
how much of the air
does he own? So
I'm sure he owns, 7 stories up?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe in Japan they are toll motorways as well. So if that's
could he earn some money?
Could he earn a percentage of the money for the air rights for the amount of traffic that goes through? Now,
I can't remember if it's this one. I didn't put it down in my notes, but I think the highway is the tenant, so he would be making money, but not obviously indirectly from the tolls. But it might have also been this Chinese one, which is even cooler, arguably even cooler. Load up that video, second one in the notes.
In the notes, yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Here it is.
There it is.
And there you can see the support, so how it doesn't touch the building on the way through.
That's lovely. That's
cool.
Very,
right?
very satisfying.
Yeah. And now she goes up an elevator for 20 minutes. So go back to and then load up the second one, which is actually arguably even cooler.
China does cool things like this. I have to say, they do it well,
dude. Yeah. I feel like China and the Middle East, like.
Oh wow.
Dubai. Oh. So what we're seeing is a very normal size apartment building. Maybe 8 floors, very ordinary apartment building, and a train is essentially going into it and just driving directly through it.
It's 19 stories. It says there.
So. Oh, is it 19?
There we go, 19. So
okay, we're only seeing the top few.
There you go. This train track runs directly through a 19-story residential building.
Wow, that's high.
I think this one here is part of it.
Oh, you think the background things? Oh yeah, look, okay. I just thought that was in the background.
There you go.
Okay.
But that's quite something.
That's pretty cool.
I wouldn't want to live next to it, I have to be honest. Although it actually looked like a monorail. So the monorails are like silent.
Yeah, you know how much sound it makes?
0.
No, they say
10.
It's about the same as a dishwasher.
That's all right, isn't it?
So you'd be living there and just sound like a dishwasher's going when the train passes through. Apparently super good sound dampening.
That's amazing.
Loads of articles were saying that they were really strapped for space, and so what they did was they demolished these apartments to build this train through the things, but apparently, somewhat disappointingly, it's not true. They planned the building to be like this, and
I feel that's inefficient. I feel that's harder to build. Like, it's harder to build a gap in a building than just build around the building.
Yeah, I guess.
But then I guess if they build around the building,
then you can build on top and all of this.
Well, there's that, and there's also that you don't block someone's view, I suppose. Is that a real thing? I'm not sure. I
guess. I mean, it's got to be somewhere. I'd kind of rather it be in the building than right in front of my window looking out onto the city or whatever.
True. Something that really surprised me about China is there's a lot of rooms that have no windows or face walls or something like that. Like if you go to a hotel they'll give you the option of a hotel room with a view or a hotel room with no view, and it means you're on like an inside wall of the building.
Oh.
Like truly depressing. And like I imagine tons and tons of people live in houses that have this view.
I'm pretty sure I've stayed in hotels without windows altogether.
Yeah, no window rooms.
Yeah. Which I don't know.
Very peculiar. Always nighttime.
Always cheaper.
Always cheaper.
Yeah, I've definitely. I can't remember where it was though. But it was like, yeah, it was cheaper, so I booked the room without a window. I was like, well, this is weird, isn't it? But I mean, it was well ventilated.
That's right.
Should we talk about something else?
Yeah. What do we got?
This one's swallowing earbuds.
Oh God.
And also the Samsung Master Race.
So swallowing earbuds like the headphones earbuds,
Yeah.
or earbuds that you poke in and
like
wash your ear.
Oh no, sorry. Cotton swabs, you mean?
These things.
Yeah. But specifically, what are they called? AirPods, right? What's the Apple ones? AirPods.
Yes.
Earbuds?
Earbuds.
Earbuds.
I think they
Okay,
are. Earbuds,
cool.
sorry.
Anyway, so I open up this Business Insider article. Man is sleeping in them. He wakes up and he's like, oh, where's my AirPod or whatever it is. And so he's like, he does the Find My AirPods, which I didn't even know was a thing on his iPhone. And they're like, whatever. They're inside him.
No.
He has swallowed.
Both of them?
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Took them out. And...
Sorry, I did say they are inside him. I meant one of them was inside him.
What? It somehow slipped inside of him? That sounds like something you'd tell a doctor. Right? How'd it get in there? I slipped.
Yeah. It's like, you swallowed it, then why is it in your butt? It's like, how did this light bulb get inside your eye? I sat on it.
So many stories like that, I think, must come out of hospitals. Like...
Oh my God, can you imagine? So he passes it. They're like, well, it doesn't seem to be leaking or anything. It seems to still be working. So they just let it pass naturally. Comes up, still got 41% battery.
Nice.
It works.
solid engineering, I think.
Yeah. I found this on Reddit. And then someone in the comments is like, he links over to a story, which I haven't linked, of an Irish man who swallows an entire bone and they have to surgically cut it out of him.
Oh,
because
what
it's
an idiot.
a bit more risky, apparently.
Well, to pass it out of your behind.
I think also the AirPods are, they're a bit more water resistant and stuff than an old cell phone, which was going to leak poison into his body.
Got it.
And the best thing was, someone in the Reddit comments was like, wow, how did this happen? And the response was, drink. The answer is always the drink.
It's always drink.
Yeah.
The drink.
Yeah, I'm like, that's how do you swallow a cell phone? First of all, B, you're probably drunk. You're also in Ireland.
Well, true. I just wondered, did it go down as a bet or did he slip? Or
I don't know. It was just a Reddit comment, so it didn't really expand.
God.
I wanted to say, but this leads me on to the Samsung Master Race. Oh yeah,
look at that.
So that's something you see it inside him.
See it inside him,
and then he's like holding it. Yay!
They passed it out. That's
dude, I would throw that away so fast.
I was gonna say, there's like, I wouldn't go back to using that.
I mean, they're expensive, but I mean, it was inside your ass.
Literally. Do you know? That's a funny thing. I wouldn't care about if it was surgically removed from before
my rectum. Better about that somehow.
If it was surgically removed from before my rectum, I'd be fine with it. And
I don't think they'd let you keep it. I can't imagine in the surgery.
It's mine. Return that.
If you apply to keep things that they take out of you, like in surgery generally, they'll just throw it away as a biohazard. But you can ask, at least in the US, I don't remember
keep
specifically.
Tumors, can't you?
You can say, I want to keep it.
Yeah.
Some guy. Look up. This is definitely going to get demonetized. Look up foot taco.
Foot taco.
See if we find anything. Oh yeah. So this guy, he
image.
Yeah. Oh god, it's kind of rough. He had a motorcycle accident, and his foot got all mangled, and they had to amputate it. But he asked if he could keep it, and he cut the meat off. He refrigerated it. He cut the meat off it, and he made it into tacos, which he served to his friends. Yeah.
Okay.
So, look at that damage though on that foot. I mean, it's just an X-ray, but that foot, those bones are in absolute pieces.
This has already been demonetized due to this. I'm just gonna say he's a fucking animal. That's disgusting. Serve it to his friends. Did they know?
Yeah, they knew.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. I retract my comment.
Just go back. And just go to the.
Look at that.
Go to the main search though, because I want to see if there's an article about this. We'll take a little detour.
That's oh god.
Yeah, so search that.
There you go.
It's on Vice. Of course, it's on Vice. This guy served his friend's taco made of his own amputated leg. Bring it up a little bigger so I can see
that is pretty mangled, I have to say.
That's pretty rough, right? If you could taste human flesh in an ethical way, would you? It's the kind of... Scroll down, my man. Question you ask yourself after watching Silence of the Lambs. This is the most vice thing ever. Yeah, so his foot was amputated. He asked whether he could keep it. I already said this, whatever.
Yeah. Would you?
Yeah.
You would, yeah?
Unquestionably. Is that bad?
I don't know. It's like there was that Swedish...
I think
was
it
Swedish? They did it on TV where they shaved off like a little bit of flesh and they barbecued it. And they got in really big trouble for it because there was like the presenter and another presenter that both did it, and they like shaved off a bit of like sort of bum leg and like a bit of loin, if you will, and
God, it's got to be super damaging.
Barbecued it. Well, I think it was just like a little bit of flesh. I can find it if you want.
This makes me uncomfortable. Now I don't know if I would try it because it feels kind of bad. But then I mean,
presenters try.
What if you found out it was amazing?
Human.
What if you became addicted to it?
Yeah, you just become
a serial cannibal, serial killing cannibal, or a surgeon who kept the body parts afterwards.
Was it this one here? Okay, one of these here. Try.
Dutch hosts eat human flesh on television.
What was it here?
It's gotta be that top
That's
one.
it, the top one. Yeah. I don't know if this will be a commentary on it or if it's the actual. Here it is.
Dutch television, both eating each other's flesh.
Ik heb vroeger de film Alive gezien. Het ging over een...
I saw the movie Alive, which is about it.
Anyway.
What it would taste like.
In removing a small piece of buttock and abdomen
Oh.
to be eaten.
Just pause this.
So this is
They're in a surgical suite.
yeah. Well, this I think what this is do you know when you have in fact you might not know, but there's a surgery you can have to check your muscle fibers to see which percentage twitch muscle fast and slow twitch muscle fibers you have.
Yeah.
And basically what they do is they take like a sort of tiny circular like sort of syringe.
Yeah.
And they poke it into you and then they basically like suck it out. It's really painful. Like it's a really horrible little thing but a lot of sports science students do it. And that's I think what they're doing here. So they've got just like little bits of
it was a
muscle,
tiny little pea-sized piece
of muscle. But yeah, they had the proper surgery, get it taken out, and then they had a nice fine dining candlelit dinner, and they got a chef to come and cook it. Look at this. So it's just a tiny little bit of look at that.
That's kind of nasty. No, now I don't know how I feel about this because that is pretty.
I'm just going to watch his reaction. Oh! They cut it off before his reaction.
Why would they cut it off before the reaction?
I think because they got in really big trouble for it. I think they got in really big trouble because cannibalism is illegal.
Is it?
Yeah. When's the last time you ate a human?
No, I mean, but surely there's got to be some sort of consent thing involved there. Though if you say I want to be murdered,
oh, look, that's quite scary. Is cannibalism legal in Prague? One of the
top,
my
god!
one of the top searches on Google. God, I don't feel safe here anymore. I've always felt so safe in Prague.
Well, I imagine it's because we are in Prague rather than like if you were searching is cannibalism and we were sitting in New York, it would be like is cannibalism legal in New York?
Oh, you'd hope so. That's wrong, but is it against the law? I don't know. We'll have to look into this. But
okay,
but no, interesting. That's interesting that you would.
Now I'm doubting it. My immediate reaction was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, no, I get that.
But now I'm like, oof.
But that's it. It's just the oof kind of feeling.
I didn't think it through.
Like, I would do it in like desperate need. But
dude, of course. If it was the only thing, if I was going to die and there was a dead body and you're like, well, you got to eat a bit of it.
But there was that guy, wasn't there? The Mexican dude that disappeared on a boat. He got stuck on a boat with the other guy and he ate the fish. So one guy ate a fish that made him really ill. He died, and then the other guy had to eat him. Yeah. And then when he got back, I think they arrested him for cannibalism.
Yeah,
he should have just pushed the guy over and been like, "Yeah, I survived eating fish." like, what did you eat? Fish and seaweed.
Don't ask any questions. And I think people would be like, "Okay, we're not going to ask any questions."
Yeah, he's had a traumatic ordeal.
Yeah, he's had enough.
He's been at sea for 3 weeks now. So.
It's all good. Carry on. Okay, how on earth did we get here? Because I want to talk about Samsung.
Okay, Samsung, the master race.
Yeah, we were talking about earbuds being swallowed, and then we got onto Taco Footman.
Taco Footman, that's how we got to it.
I don't know how we got onto there.
Me neither, man.
Doesn't matter. So I run this other channel, or a YouTube channel called Business Blaze, which I think I've mentioned before, where I kind of do commentary on business stories. And I occasionally look things up live on the show, so I'll be like, okay, let's that'll be interesting, let's double check that. And I use an iPad clearly, or a iPhone, and I have interactions. I'll be like, Siri, what's the population of where and where? I'll be completely shite. It would come up. It would try, but it's not going to. It's not connected to the internet. I would say like, I'm having some trouble with the connection. Yes, Siri, because you're on airplane mode. Don't you know that?
Do you know what I hate Siri?
It's an absolute piece of shit.
It's absolute shite. Like, it's the worst like machine learning sort
Alexa's
of
great
tool thing.
People say Google Home is good.
Yep. Completely agree.
I had Samsung had their Samsung Bixby, which was, I don't know.
If you ask Bixby to beatbox, that's a whole never like on Siri. You ask Siri to beatbox, and it will go butts and cats and butts and cats. But then you ask Bixby to beatbox, and it's like,
whoa!
It's really quite something. It's
I mean, it's a machine. Come on, at least give it good skills.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be like kind of making a calculation. It'd be like, oh, I'm going to do it slowly. Why? So the whole thing is like, I'll use these things, and I always thought like, I don't care. Like I use a Windows machine, I use a MacBook and an iPad and this sort of stuff. I don't really care. And people are all, Apple fanboys are the worst, all of this stuff. I found, no. The Android people, it's like, I thought you were smart, Simon, and you use an iPhone? iPhones are for stupid people.
Oh.
Right?
That's disappointing.
Like, it's a bit weird, because Apple people get a hard time for using all this Apple stuff, which I don't care about. Fine, whatever. But the real master race, the real like, oh, we're better, is all these Android people who are like, this is the best thing ever. It's like, it's better than Apple, but people still prefer Apple, so we're so good. It's like,
I know this
weird.
is a stupid comment, but if Apple and Android would come together and do a phone together, it'd be the perfect phone. Like, there's, for instance, Android is much better for storing files. Like Android,
That's true.
stores
I
files
had
in a
an
much
Android
nicer
for like
way.
a year.
iPhones are much better at pictures, for example. Not like, but holding them, fixing them up, and things like that. They're much better at organizing their photos. Music's probably a little bit better on an iPhone.
Well, it's all Spotify, isn't it?
Well, it's Spotify, but also the iTunes, like the way it works, the way it holds like songs and everything, is just better. But then I find that the services on an Android phone are much better. So
services,
like sort of the like, for instance, files and Bixby. Not is it? No, Bixby's not Android.
It's Google.
Right. Google's better than Siri. So like, without any doubt.
Agreed.
If they just linked Siri to Google, boom, bada boom, bada bing.
I used an Android for a year. I found it fine.
Yeah.
It was one of these Samsung ones where the screen wraps around the edge.
Oh, nice.
And I smashed it. So then I went back to iPhone because I got a little bit upset.
How did you smash it?
I dropped it.
Did you drop it when going? No, never mind. It's always bathroom floors.
I dropped it on the tram, actually.
Oh, that's a shame.
Like 3 days in.
3 days?
Yeah.
That's gutting.
And then I can't have possibly had it for a year. I had it like 6 months maybe, because it had a little crack forever. And then I wanted a quote on it, and they were like, well, it's 500 quid to replace the screen.
Well, this is it. You see, I bought like, people won't be able to see this, but I bought my phone with this crack on it.
Oh yeah.
Because it was at a heavily discounted rate, and I've never replaced it because it would cost me the same amount as I bought the phone for. So it's
like insane.
It's ridiculously expensive.
But I've had this 10 for a couple of years now. Well, when when it came out,
2.5 years or so. Yeah.
And I've never smashed it.
No,
never done anything.
Have you got a glass on it? Have you got like
it's just got this
safety
default
glass.
Apple case.
You don't have a safety glass on top?
No.
What?
Why?
Well,
that's not going to protect me from smashing the screen.
Oh,
it's
it will,
just
100%. Like, so if you get one of the safety glasses that goes on top and you drop it, the safety glass will smash.
Yeah.
But then it saves your screen.
Yeah, but it also looks silly.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. Like,
I don't know. I've had screen protectors before.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as good as when there's no... I mean, to be fair, it looks best when there's no case whatsoever. But then I will break it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I just thought the screen protectors were to protect the screen from scratches and stuff.
My wife was trying to be really funny, and you can't actually see it, but because it's dirty, but there's a big dent in the phone here, and that was where my wife thought she was being funny, stole the phone, put it in her pocket, ran away. I sort of grabbed her, and she fell onto a chair.
She fell onto a chair. Sounds like a lot like domestic abuse.
No.
to me.
No. Like
she fell down badly.
She sort of pushed me away and sort of fell into a chair.
She fell onto a knife.
And and just like whacked the side of the chair, and it just dented the phone. Completely dented it. Like it was. She didn't even hit the side of the chair very hard. It just really dented it.
It survived.
It's still going, cracks and all.
Yeah. Anyway, my whole point was this.
Anyway.
I just don't care. I don't care. It's a phone. It does what it does. I have a mild preference for Apple. If someone was like, you can only use Android, I'd be like, okay.
All right. Yeah.
Fine. I don't care.
What do you think of Huawei?
Have you never used it? It's Android though, right?
I think it is Android.
Whatever.
Huawei. They've got
it's
really,
cheap though, so
really
I imagine
good
it would be
cameras.
a little bit shitter.
Really good cameras.
Okay.
They're like very, very high quality cameras.
Okay. Cool.
Great.
Yeah. Exactly. I just don't care that much.
I think the world falls into 2 or 3 types of people. It's like those that care about technology and those that don't care about technology.
Tool.
Like for instance,
I have insane amounts of technology because it allows me to do what I want to do. I don't get. It's not like, oh, wow, it's got a 40 megapixel camera.
I've got like a member of family, for example, who buys a different TV every 6 months, like because they just love TVs.
What changes?
Exactly. That's my question. Like the thing is, I watch TV maybe once a week, like if that. Everything's Netflix now, anyway. Let's be honest. But yeah, so they just every 6 months they just like a new TV. And
is it bigger? Better resolution?
It's kind of a bit of everything, but you know when you sort of buy every 5 years, you see a big jump. You go, oh, this is better. Well, if you buy every 6 months, you don't. Like it's very, very small, minor differences. But that's what excites them. That's their thing, And maybe that's like the Samsung master race.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I've only really bought one TV in my life, I guess.
Have you?
Yeah. I had a projector for a while.
I like that. I like projectors.
The big problem I had with projectors is I just have... You've got to have someone to project onto, right? Mm-hmm. So I just had my living room, just a giant white wall. Yeah. And I was like, this isn't very nice. So got a big TV and put it on there and put some pictures around it. And it's got this cool mode where you can display pictures on it, so it looks like a frame, like a photo.
Did I tell you I'm really into DIY at the moment? Speaking of putting
dude, you
pictures
fixed
up.
your microwave.
No, not just the microwave. All right,
done now projects.
So I put up a whole. Do you know like when you get those like those Pinterest kind of like really
boards?
Cool, no, the really cool looking photo displays. So for instance, like there's photos.
I've never been on Pinterest, but
have you not? It's really good for when you're like designing things. But no, so it's basically I've got like big pictures. So 3 big pictures at the bottom, 1 above, and then they steadily, gradually go down. It's really cool. It took me ages because I didn't have a spirit level, so I had to do things like,
dude, why didn't you get the spirit level apps?
Yeah, I've got the spirit level app, but I needed a longer spirit level so that I can mark it out along the line. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I managed it in the end, and I've decided I'm going to build a house out of wood.
All right,
I'm going to do it.
That's a little bit of a more advanced project, Sam.
A few nails. But,
probably should use screws. Oh, dude, okay, no, I'm skipping this one.
Oh, that looks interesting, though.
Wait, what should I do? Should I do the international standard for tea, or do you want to talk about shuffling cards?
I want tea.
Okay, we'll save shuffling cards, because it's absolutely incredible. If you are not subscribed to this show, if there's been any time throughout all of these episodes where you've considered subscribing and you've thought, oh, it's a bit shit, I probably won't, this is the time that you should change that opinion, because next episode is actually going to be good. Okay, let's talk about the international standard for tea. ISO 3103, the International Standards Organization, actually has specified the correct way of making tea. You've seen ISO things around, I assume, right?
Is this put the milk in first?
No, like the ISO standards. You'll see them like on the bottom of a package of something. It'll say like packaging applies to ISO standard 1987 or this kind of stuff. You see, if you haven't
now
look out and you'll see it everywhere. And on sides of buildings and all of this sort of stuff. But basically they come up with the standards for everything. So like, this is how packaging should be. This is how this should be.
Okay,
acceptable or whatever. So this international standards for tea, and I feel this is more about bureaucracy than anything else. It was produced by the ISO Technical Committee 34 Food Products Subcommittee 8 Tea. And they had a tea subcommittee. And you want to hear what they came up with? The standard is not meant to define the proper method for brewing tea intended for general consumption, but rather to document a tea brewing procedure where meaningful sensory comparisons can be made. So in English, that is quite plain English, which is quite good. Well, sort of.
But what does it mean?
It basically means because different teas can be brewed in different ways, right? And irregardless of personal preference, like green tea, you might brew like this. Black tea, you might brew like this. White tea, blah, 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 blah.
Like a white tea. I'm a big fan of a white tea.
I don't know.
I'll bring some white tea. We can have some white tea.
I feel like I have some white tea, but I'm not sure.
We can only have one because it's so full of caffeine. It's just like...
I do like that, though.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway.
I'll continue. An example... so basically the idea is that you brew the tea in the exact same way, so you can taste it and tell the differences between the different types of tea by having some standard thing, even if it's not the correct way of brewing it. An example of such test would be to taste test. Okay, they actually can't explain it. What am I doing? Why am I wasting my life? An example of such a test would be to taste test to establish which blend of tea to choose for a particular brand or basic label in order to maintain a consistent tasting brewed drink from harvest to harvest. So it's all about just like how can we keep mega consistency, which is the whole point of ISO standards.
Yeah. So it's basically saying, like, harvest to harvest, we should be able to make this tea the same way, and it should be roughly the same tea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bingo. So, yeah, fellas, I mean, I guess there's a point to it, but it is interesting they had to have, like, the International Standards Organization come up with this. But I feel...
Seems a bit irrelevant, really. But I suppose it's...
like, what do you do for a living? I work for the ISO Standards Organization. What are you doing? Well, I'm on the Subcommittee 8, Section 34D, for tea.
I was going to say, what do they have on the business card?
Tea master. Tea standard organization.
Although, like, tea sommeliers, I don't think they're called sommeliers, but, like, tea experts are. That's a really big thing. Like, and especially now, because you get, like, artisanal tea.
You do?
Well, I don't know if they call it artisanal, but now everyone's buying posh teas and sort of flavored teas and this tea. And
I went to Whittard's the other day, the tea shop, and I bought some tea. My wife was like, "Oh, let's get some of this tea," and we're like, "Oh, let's just have, I don't know, 50 grams or whatever normal size amount of tea was." I'm like, holy shit, tea's expensive. Like, I mean, this was some fancy ass tea. Yeah. And I was like, it's a lot of money for tea. Yeah. But I guess it makes a lot of tea. That's the wrong PG tips. Anyway, that's kind of it.
Quick question. Do you know, all right, here you go, interesting. Do you know what the PG tips and typical, like, tea bags are made to do? Like, so if we think you buy a nice cup of tea, like a nice pot of tea, and you go to make that tea, generally they're quite like long grains, like long leaves and things like that. So you'd soak them in.
Aren't they dusty?
It's not that they're dusty. They are made to be as strong as possible, as quickly as possible, and what was it? As quickly as possible, fast as possible, strong as possible, and to reach its like maximum taste, like to be as tasteful as soon as possible,
quick as possible.
And so like good to be drank with milk or without milk. It's kind of made to just be the all round tea. So the builder's tea, if you will.
Builder's tea.
Builder's tea.
That's a very British thing.
I think so. Like, can you have a builder's tea if you're not a builder?
Well, yeah.
What is it? It's
PG
milk,
tips,
milk,
kind of, sort of.
But it's milk, 2 sugars, isn't it?
Wait, I thought builder's tea meant it's just generic. You know, it's not like, ooh, Earl Grey or Lady Grey.
I think a builder's
English
tea...
breakfast. I thought it would just be like PG tips or, Tesco standard. I think a builder's
tea is milk and 2 sugars. I think.
I'm going to start wrapping up this episode because it's cold. But I do want to know what builder's tea is. So thank you everybody for listening. If you care what okay, so there you go. That was actually quite quick.
Yeah, my fingers are so cold. I can't search anything.
Strong cup of tea, taking a break, brewed in a mug, small amounts of milk.
There you go. Yeah, milk, 2 sugars.
It doesn't say that.
1 or more teaspoons of sugar. But this is optional. But that's when you make.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just.
If you have
strong brown tea.
If you have 2 builders come for, well, I don't know why we need 2 builders.
It says
but if
right
you
there,
builder,
Sam. I disagree. It's a strong cup of tea. That's the definition. Everything else is optional. It's a strong cup of tea. It's builder's tea.
All right, we'll agree. We'll agree to.
We're not disagreeing. It's right there. We looked it up.
Whoever said Wikipedia was right.
You're like, it's definitely. It says it's optional, Sam.
Wikipedia is not English.
This has been the Simon Whistler Show with Sam Myers. Please subscribe, like. That shuffling cards thing is insane. Tune in for next week. That'll be next week.
I can't wait for you to show me, tell me. That's,
you're going to love it, man. It's going to blow your mind.
It's going to be great.
Or you're just going to find it boring. Subscribe, like. We'll be back very soon. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.